Yep, my name's Neil Messenger. Come from a fishing family, the Humphreys. I've always been fishing all my life. We've had the shop for about the last 15, 16 years. Before that, my auntie and uncle had it. But the actual fishing industry, we've been fishing since the 1500s, the family. Just a way of life, really. It's not a job, it's a way of life. You wouldn't do it for the money, and you wouldn't do it for you do it for the pleasure and the fun, the whole thing. You just like doing it. It's mostly, the shop's only been sort of 3 generations, really. My auntie had it before us, I was doing it, and then Jack took over when he left school. So I went back fishing. So I had a little break from fishing, and I can't cope with silly questions from customers. I'd rather be out there on the boat, doing your own thing, and the boredom gets me here. I like to do things and get on with things, not when it's quiet, hanging around and doing nothing. You know, it's always something to do, but it's just boring. You know, I like to be doing something. If we're not fishing, then we make nets at home or go and do things. You're not tired. With the shop, you are tired to, you have to be here because customers might turn up and you're sitting here doing nothing. You know, we're fishing. If you're not fishing, we're making nets at home, cutting old nets off, doing bits on the boat. You're always doing something. You work more hours, but it's not like work. Like I said, you're doing something, so you're enjoying it. Where here, you're sort of stuck down the shop and no one turns up, you still got to be standing here. People don't eat fish, to be quite honest. There's not many, nearly all the fish that gets caught in England goes to export. You know, people now, youngsters, they don't know nothing about fish. They don't know how to cook it. They think they watch too many programs where you have to do certain things, make it really. It looks really. You get a bit of fish on a TV program, and it looks like you've got to have a degree in cooking, where all you've got to do is boil it, fry it, even microwave it. You know, we microwave mackerel. You can just stick anything in the grill. You can stick anything in the frying pan. You don't need nothing special to do with fish. You know, when they do all these special recipes, they put so much stuff in it, it makes people scared of it. But then people don't, they look at a recipe now and they want to see, they get a recipe and they want that, even though you don't catch it. You know, where before, I used to work in the fish market before I left school, and I've always been down here. People used to come down and buy what you had. Now they have a recipe and they want that. So then you've got to buy more different sorts of fish for people want. So then your fish doesn't move as much, so the more you got, it's harder to sell. Fish is quite expensive. You've got cheap fish, good fish. You know, sometimes, certain times of year it's cheaper. But then you go for the prime fish. The prime fish is always dearer. People don't realise there's so much. It's not just a piece of fish. It's the size of the fish. From the small, say a small place, to the large place, it's 4 times as dear per kilo. 4 to 5 times, maybe 6 times as dear. That's just on size, nothing to do with time of the year or whatever. So we will get paid more for the bigger ones per kilo, not per fish, per kilo. Yeah, most we go to is fish and chips, or you go to the supermarket and get it breaded, which mostly come from somewhere else. You know, they don't realise there's glazing on stuff, like even the frozen stuff we buy for the shop. You know, we buy top quality prawns because we defrost them and sell them to people to eat, where you can actually buy cheaper ones where they've got a lot more glazing on, which is water. But people don't realise glazing is just water. So if you look at the packet, it will tell you you're buying a kilo, but there might only be 900 grams of prawns. It could go down to about 600 grams. So you're buying 400 grams of water. We like what we do. We ain't just, you know, like the other shellfish stalls and that. It's just a profit earning. It's a business. We actually enjoy it. We have pride in what we sell and what we do.
So I'm a magician of 7 years. I've been doing close-up magic for the entire 7 years, as well as doing street magic for the last 5 years, stage magic for 3 years, and playwriting for a year.
What inspired you to get into doing magic?
I was just incredibly bored, so I had no interest in performing to people or wanting to impress people. I literally just had way too much time on my hands, so I did what any 12-year-old kid does and picks up a deck of cards.
So who were your main influences in the magic world?
Early on I had no one. I just was completely blind to it, and then later I found Derren Brown, obviously, because he was very much in the spotlight 5 years ago. He was very big. He's still very big now, but he was at his prime 5 to 7 years ago.
Speaking about your play, could you talk us through how you came up with the subject, the process of working?
Sure.
Creation?
So the original idea for the play that was going to be put on came from a kind of dramatised version of my story in magic. So it was kind of semi-autobiographical with a little bit of drama put in, just because no one's life is interesting enough to go straight onto the stage.
Could you just give a quick synopsis of the story? As it was meant to be.
As it was meant to be. So the quick synopsis of the story that was supposed to be put on was a magician who turns his only joy into an obsession, only to find out a little too late the only thing worth living for is love. I think the hardest part was finding an actress to play the lead female role. The director I knew, luckily, I'd already known the director I was working with for about 4 to 5 years, so that kind of transitioned and slid in quite nicely. The venue again was easy. You just kind of turn up, find one that looks okay and pay your money, and then you're in.
Okay, so as we know, the show itself didn't entirely go according to plan.
No, not quite.
Can you tell us about what went wrong?
Yeah, so the only thing that went wrong mainly was the actress pulled out 48 hours before the show, leaving me with a venue that was fairly expensive and no show. So I had to decide whether to cancel or put on a kind of ad-lib show, if you will. So.
Yeah, because what we saw was more of a sort of a variety of different...
Yeah, so what you'll see is a variety cabaret night as opposed to a play, which is because I was very lucky to have a lot of two circus performers that I could rely on and call upon to come and lend a hand, as well as a very talented burlesque dancer that very kindly stood in as the glamorous assistant. So I found out a lot of the people that I was working with weren't who I thought they were. So know your team.
You talked about the stress of the first night. How much of that was actually improvised?
The first night we didn't actually do a full dress run through of anything. So our first show was pretty much the full run through. So I think a lot of it was fairly improvised. I'm planning on doing a show this June, July that I've already been in conversation to the stage manager about 3-4 days after the show finished. So it didn't deter me too much.
So it hasn't put you off?
So I'm straight back on, yeah.
Going straight back in, that's good.